Hey guys, I'm Matt Lighty, and in this video I'm going to be talking about what I'm planning for my league starter. So as many of you know, I've been the past couple months and then the future many, I'll be working on our upcoming ARPG, The Dark West, so I'm quite preoccupied, but I'm still playing League Launch. I'll be live for that entire weekend. I have, I think, a couple podcasts leading up to it, and then I'll be live for the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like crazy, you know, like the standard 15-hour plus a day, you know, schedule. And then it's going to be pretty much back to work. So I don't know what exact amount of stream content you'll get, but I'll still do stuff on the side for videos as I've been doing, so you'll have something. I digress. So for the league starters, the patch was... This is one of the larger patches we've had, not so much for balance, but just for content changes. It's going to change how we approach things in Solo Self-Found to a degree, because a lot of our previous item generation, doing 17s, there's a lot of things that are just different, that is going to probably yield different routing. Will you still, you know, go expedition heavily and then maybe invest in like Betrayal and Essence for crafting? Yeah, probably, because those haven't really been hit too hard, but a lot of things have changed. No Kirek, Scouting Reports, different routing again, so it's better to have a more robust league starter. So one of the league starters I'm planning, this is like, I've got two. I've got, you know, high scope, low scope. No is going to work. The one's kind of a shit meme, but it also will work fine. So the first one is Absolution. This is going to be a very popular choice for league starting. Absolution then transitioning into a bevy of other things, whether it's SRS, Spectres, or whatever, but Absolution Guardian. Guardian stocks have gone up yet again. Also, as other casters get worse, Guardian gets better. And it's got a pretty strong suite of nodes, so a couple things to go over, I guess, with that. Bastion of Hope wasn't changed, the one that grants you block, but Time of Need, it's been rewritten. So the top line removes not just elemental ailments, but all ailments. So, again, stock's gone up there. Harmony of Purpose, the one that gives you shrines, has gotten better because the three existing versions of like elemental shrines, like Shock, and then the other ones that give Night Nova or like skeletons, those have been given greater versions. I don't know exactly what that means, but cool. And a really nice one is Radiant Crusade. The summon no longer lasts like 20 seconds. It's now just permanent. You have to resummon it each zone, but it's permanent, and that gets quite chonky as well. We'll go over that in a second. But that's just like huge quality of life. So leveling, it's as if you're walking around. Oh, it got 36% more movement speed. So it's now not so much of a slug. It's going to be huge quality of life for leveling, because leveling with Radiant Crusade it's like having a little Pox next to you. Imagine having a small Pox, a little baby Troy Polamalu walking around with his RF, just doing a great job next to you. And we love Pox, so we love this. So great for leveling. Unwavering Crusade, the next one, the basically pseudo-free Anger, Hatred, Wrath is just a big vibe, so having those is really nice. One problem with playing Guardian and using Absolution, if you don't get to use Dark Monarch, really, because the opportunity cost is kind of worse than having like the huge damage from the Elemental flat there, and having the Radiant Crusade, because they count as minions, and Dark Monarch says you get double Absolution but no other minions, so it's kind of like, eh. Anyway, Radiant Faith, great. Tons of armor. Yes. And then Unwavering Faith is just so good. 50% increased reservation efficacy of skills. Not mana reservation, generic reservation efficacy. So it works on life as well. The tree is like... I don't say the word lame. It's like a standard kind of lame caster tree. Life, mana, ES, effective block nodes, effective minion nodes. The only real pizzazz we have is like Spiritual Aid. And then I guess Spiritual Command, but everything else is just like, you know, chonky. You're a chonky caster who's a minion summoner, dude. Divine Shield makes you chonky. You're on the Aegis, you're more chonky. If you have mana issues, you can grab EB, but you shouldn't. Some people also pick up Leaf Shade just for more chonk. Some people pick up Mage Bane for more chonk. This tree is only 79 points. You've got... This is going to be like 95 because of how you route. If you had mana issues, this is going to be 85, then you're no mana issues ever. This is going to be 87. Plus this is also like 90. So you've got options to tailor to your experience. So, chonky block build. The equipment. There's only really two things I would give a shit about. Aegis Aurora, which I wouldn't expect in the first couple days, but if you get it, great. Otherwise, Shaper Block Shield's fine. Otherwise, just Block Shield. And then Trigger on Wand. This you just do Betrayal for. It just automates a lot of your ease. Makes life nicer. You put in Desecrate, Offering, Molten Shell. Just nice. Nice to have, you know? Keep the offerings rolling. Get your Absolutions critting. You run a fair amount of auras because of your Guardian. So Tempest Shield, there's your block. There's your, not worrying about, you know, elemental ailments there. Vitality, huge. Clarity, again, mana problem. You pick up EB, you could drop Clarity, run something else, maybe Flesh and Flame or something. Determination, Purity. Because we're running Tempest, you don't have to run Purity of Elements. Don't really give a shit because Tempest. Is there a route in which you drop Purity, drop Clarity, run triple Purities? As in Purity of Fire, Lightning, Ice, whatever, right? Yes, that's a route also. A little bit more strenuous on your reservation cost, but you could also grab more. I like running triple Purities in general. It reminds me kind of playing the, what's it called? Forbidden Rite in Merc League. You know, that was a good triple Purity build. Like running triple Purities plus a Tempest Shield in a 4-link, that's like a +2 aura situation or +2 area situation, is quite good. You can also do it in gloves, Valcaresses, if you want. Valcaresses also work because you're running Val Absolution, so that's a route. Let me just clarify what I'm saying here. So Valcaress gloves, +5 level 2 Val gems. So in your gloves, you could put in, for example, Val Purity of Lightning, Ice, Fire, right? And then it now works. You can also toss in like Val Molten Shell if you're manually activating. And then you gain Onslaught for using a Val skill. Well, every 20 seconds, you're probably using Val Absolution, give or take. So it's like, this is also a fun one. The reason it's extra fun is because it's also like double corrupt bait. You can easily get +7 for a specific type, if not generic type. So, you know, food for thought. Anyway, that's the basic skill suite. Is you just have a Spectres and Carrion Golems. You will eventually, as with every minion build, go into Death Attunement for more Spectres because Spectres are incredibly potent. To showcase that, because I think the spells are basically covered your skills. Head to the notes section. I have a couple things in here that are interesting. So one of them is, this dude did a good write-up on Spectre info. Let me just highlight his name. Noble Cactus, great name. Someone always makes this every league. And there's also great comments as well, but it just goes to show what each of the Spectres does. Not so much where you get them, that would have been more useful. So this being in like a spreadsheet with like location information would be very cool. I could do that. I probably won't, but I could. And a lot of these are, you know, some of these are going to be ritual exclusives, like, you know, Forest Warriors granting Calling Onslaught, whatever. So that's nice. And the other thing is they just made it so Spectres, there's one of the Scarabs always guarantees corpses in ritual. So even, it should be hypothetically easier to get. But you could run a bevy of different Spectres, at least 3. Depends on what you want to run. So this guy's running like Hulking Miscreation or Chieftains for power charges, Warlord for endurance and vitality. That's a common one. So it's just about the vibe. There's so many options for Spectres that work now, you know. And the Charge Monkeys, Charge Apes works great. Those you can also get quite early on. So then you have the crazy ones like Tigers and whatnot, but yeah, there's a lot of fun Spectres, so that's just some food for thought there. We talked a bit about Sentinel of Radiance, just to showcase how its scaling works. It stops scaling at 85. And you could set monster level here to 85, so this is like the top end of what it looks like. It's doing, what, 20% of its life? So it's like 90k RF, and it's just like extra chonky. So it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool guy. He's a real chonker. So until 85, you keep scaling, or until you're 85. And I think I had like one more note in here that mattered. This is a different one. Oh yeah, just talking Absolution, I guess, in general. It's, for those who don't know, you basically cast a little AoE lightning thingy, and then it zaps, and you make dudes, and those dudes zap. And then the Val version gets you Innocence, who does bigger zaps. And the reason that Absolution is a vibe at the moment is because it was buffed heavily, so regular and inspiring. The duration went up, which is nice. The minion duration went up, which is nice. And then the minions themselves on their blast, the one that they do that's like their large AoE thing, 44% more AoE and more damage. So quite potent. So that's a nice little buff right there. The Val version received the same. We talked about the Guardian stuff. I think I have it here. Yeah, so it's the Sentinel no longer has duration, and it's quicker. You still have to do it each zone, but it's very, very good. The Shrines have these larger versions, Greater, Shocking, and Skeleton, whatever. Time of Need removes the cursing, and then they get an extra no, but that doesn't... I don't even know if we'll do it's on melee hit. I don't think it's any way of benefiting from this. Anyway, so that's the vibe there. I think I talked about Ritual also. Ritual, Scarab of Corpses, cause rituals in areas that contain additional rare item as corpse that would appear in the favor window after being defeated. So, got a bunch of rerolls. You can see a bunch of corpses that should be much more potent. So, Ritual is obviously a big one for us that we're thinking about if you're doing this build in SSF, and then Betrayal for getting your wand stuff going on, and maybe getting a good one. They added a new thing that lets your Veil items drop Fractured, so that's could be cool. But yeah, so this is like the safe route. This is the choice I will probably be doing as a starter. And then there's what I want to do. Okay, so what I want to do really can only be showcased on the main page, and I'm not alone in this. What I want to do is play frogs, but unfortunately, the frogs are going to be a bitch to get probably. So it's Hex Toad, which makes frogs. This is one of the new exceptional gems, which basically were awakened gems, but they're now called exceptional gems. And they're numerically worse as of this raid supports. Like they lost a little bit of damage multipliers from what I saw, but they're functionally the same and should be more accessible because they're farmable, hypothetically, from endgame bosses and content. And I think the one I discussed for Hex Toad was King of the Mist. So it also ties into me doing Absolution Ritual. Maybe I do that until I get Hex Toad, then I reroll Hex Toad. That's probably what I'll end up doing, and that's what is the smart thing to do. Okay, so all this basically does is it converts, it makes your Cursed Ground support also then pop up these toads when the duration ends. Cursed Grounds, they trigger the toad every 0.8 seconds. This is affected by CDR, so dipping into using a new CDR support or dipping into the Delirium bloodline that gives you CDR. CDR things become incredibly relevant. You can get that number much lower than you can get the rate of occurrence much higher, increasing your damage. Makes sense. It does a big old chaos hit, and either you go crit or you go maybe poison. It applies wither and hit, but it's hard to say the frequency of amount of toads we're talking here. So there's obvious tie-ins with things like Vixens, type builds or, Cursed Ground type builds. But if I want to go this route for starting off, I'll basically be playing Soul Rend in some capacity or Blight of Contagion. There's a few options for Chaos casters that are okay. They all look very similar. And then tree-wise, it's, again, kind of similar to the other one, which is the Guardian. You're picking up block, you're picking up effective armor ES, life, aura, all the same jazz. One node that I really like that people don't get. So some people go Anointed Flesh, which I'm always disappointed by because it's reducing effect is kind of lame for me because typically it's being passed through to grab either CB first or Eliris can't be lowered by curses. Those are a couple common ones. And Paleth doing Simulacrum. Damaging can't be afflicted if you already had it. It's common also for bleed stacks and poison stacks. But I honestly much prefer grabbing Asylum if you're passing by it. I just think the point efficiency of the Chaos Res and reduced effective curse is much more potent. So for me, I prefer this one. It's the same 3 point than 4 for the Mastery. I just think it's just more virile, it's more fully erect, more juicy. And the rest of the tree is kind of, when I say lame, I mean it's just generic. It's nothing is extravagant about it. I would probably say Harsh Lessons is the wildest node. But it also has that fun downside of reducing duration of ailments on you, so it legally does something else. Yeah. Or it's your ring malevolence, determination, whatever else you could fit in. You have Tempest Shield again. Block is quite good, so it's hard to not go block for a lot of casters at the moment. It's the suppression stocks I feel like are down and block is still up, so yeah. But the fun news is you'll probably have an easier way of getting, in this case it's greater multiple projectiles versus what was previously awakened. So yeah. It's actually called greater, but awakened greater multiple projectiles. Anyway, cool stuff there. So that's the other route is I start that. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm probably just going to start this because I know for like I would guarantee anybody who wants to play a tanky build and softcore, hardcore solo stuff on out, Absolution will be a very obvious choice. It's not going to be a surprise. You'll see people doing it. It was already fine and it got buffed in a few ways. It was already a common choice to just like Absolution to 80 then swap to build. So the fact that, you know, it got buffed and Guardian got buffed is fun stuff. So this will probably be my route, and then I'll probably level with this guy and then swap into Toads, because unfortunately this shit is going to be, well, it's 76 on level 3. I'm not sure if they changed the scaling, but probably at least like 60. So that build won't be online for a while, unfortunately. But yeah, and then you explore a bunch of ways of scaling up its flat. You know, if it's level 3 flat, is it 3700 top end? Who knows? You know, the Toads leap towards enemies and explode. I'm not sure the level of like heat seeking. Are they minions? If so, are they affected by movement speed? Would you like to invest in movement speed? There's like a lot of unknowns here. This is a very unknown thing. I was interacting with Tie Killer on Twitter about joking that you know, not having Hex Toads on your League starter is a bannable offense. And it's like, I would not recommend League starting Hex Toads, but yeah, I would probably League start something actually viable and then swap into Hex Toads. But the idea of Hex Toads is very sexy, so, because Toads. That's it. So yeah, I'll have this in the description, I'll have this in the description, and that's basically the vibe. Things are totally subject to change, because unfortunately we live in a world where releasing patch notes, which we have, is not enough information. If you're trying to plan a build, especially in solo self-found, we require more information. Even more so the fact that there's going to be a new Scion Ascendancy that we don't know 90% of what it does. So that could be better for Absolution. It could be better for Hex Toads. Going Occultist is like an obvious meme because, you know, chaos, explosions, it's just on brand. But who knows? I think it's called the Antiquarian, but I've been calling it the Aristocrat because of the Aristocrat meme. So I'm going to keep going with that. Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know about this or suggestions. If you two are playing 3.028.28, then let me know what you're playing. I'm curious what other people are up to. I'll be somewhat paying attention, but I'm still working up to stream. So I'll be live on Friday, hours before, and then pretty much live until I crash on Monday. Sleep, stream, sleep, stream, sleep, stream. And I'll gonna order something, some costume, maybe today on Amazon. So you'll have something there for the plans. But if you have any questions about League Starter, feel free to ask me. And oh yeah, if you have any questions about obviously the Dark West, you know, our upcoming ARPG, just you can also ask me. You can also DM me there, or you could join our Discord. One of the two. Either way. All right. I'm Mathew Lighty, and I'll see you guys on the live stream, and if not, in the next video. Have a good day. Bye bye.